So Teal, it's wonderful to have you here at the Wellbeing Festival. Can you tell me a little bit about how you found it here and what you've been teaching people?
Well, I am actually blown away because I've found so many things here just like in the tiny amount of time I've had to experience a lot of the vendors that are here. Just like what awesome stuff people are doing. Because sometimes I feel as spiritual people or as people who are in tune with well-being, essentially, we're sitting in our little pockets of the world and we're feeling lonely because it's like, the whole of society is not really awake necessarily. So to come to a place like this where you're basically, seeing those people from all these places, this time in Europe, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone, there's a place I belong. And so people are up to such great things, it kind of fills you with this feeling of like hope for the world.
And what have been the main themes that you've been focusing on this year? I mean, obviously you're guided in the work that you do, but what are the main things that you're bringing through to people?
My main theme this whole year is essentially purity. But if you look at purity, if we want to make that more real and more tangible, what that boils down to is authenticity. It's basically a person being able to get past what they think is right or wrong down to what's real. And so my focus tends to be trying to get people down to what's real about how I feel right now, what's real about how I think, what's real about what I want, what I don't want, so that we can kind of purify down to the essence of who someone is. It's part of why I'm so psyched to be in London right now, because quite frankly, this is like this entire social sphere here in England is about pretense. There's a way you behave, which is may be reflective of how you are, but not usually. Usually it's like, it doesn't matter whether you're unhappy, it doesn't matter whether you feel like screaming or you're not, feeling great in life. You're supposed to just basically put on this facade, and there's a way to behave. And so I feel like it's really liberating to bring to the world this idea that may not be the best thing to be doing. In fact, the evolution of society is going to take place if we're willing to admit to what's real.
So you've been giving some workshops to packed audiences. It's all been sold out, 300 people at a time. What do you do with a group session as opposed to a one-to-one or as opposed to your videos? I mean, these are very different ways of communicating to people, aren't they? How do you help them? What do you achieve? What can you achieve in a group?
Well, I think that for me, my style specifically, I mean, there's a lot of merit to a one-on-one session, but I actually prefer the groups. Because what you can do is you can get the energy of the room, which is, it's like an ocean. It's like commanding an ocean versus like a stream. So you can get that massive ocean of energy, and when you're playing with that energy by virtue of what you're saying, you can get the vibration in the room to increase to such a degree that you're creating essentially an energetic bath for the people who are in the room. And what's really great about the format that I'm doing is when I invite people up on stage with me, people in the audience, they're obviously, to share the same space, they have to share the same vibration. So when I'm helping somebody next to me on the stage, it's corresponding to people in the audience who maybe don't have the guts per se to stand up and be attacked by me. And so it's like they can sit in that and see somebody on stage who has the same issue that they have, and then see maybe some alternative ways to deal with that issue. And so I love it. It's like people play off of each other. And one of the main reasons that I got into this business in the first place is because I was so damn lonely. And so what's awesome about gathering a group of people is that when you're sitting there in an audience of 300 and you're looking around at all these like-minded people, potentially you'll connect with them. Potentially it'll be like, wow, that's a friend you'll have for the rest of your life. And you can finally form those connections, which so many of us are completely absent of.
Because you do go in quite strong, don't you?
Yes, I do.
You're not going to be a light and floppy therapist. You're going to go straight in there and you're going to get results, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because you personally have had experience of coming from very difficult situations and the enlightenment and the healing that can come through that.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
About oh my gosh.
I mean, I know this.
I was like, I was demolished. I mean, to put it lightly, I had one of the experiences as a child that most people will never have to experience, thank God, but I was tortured for 13 years when I was a child. And so when I escaped at age 19, I was like literally a shell of a human being. I was self-abusive. I didn't have any boundaries, and I didn't know how to fit into society because I was not being geared towards this. I was being geared towards like highly ritualistic and very negative social spheres. So basically I had to piece myself back together again. And part of the torment of that was like I didn't fit in anywhere. So I really had to embrace the gifts that I came into this life with and say, you know what, I really can't spend my life running from all of this. I can't spend my life running from the fact that I'm empathic. I can't run from the fact that I see things that I shouldn't necessarily see. I can't run from my pain either. And so when I just said, you know what, I'm going to own it completely, I saw the benefit not only that, would do for me, but what it would do for the world in general. And here we are today.
And not many people have experienced pain to such a degree. And it's obviously opened you up, and you've come through with this teaching for everyone. You're able to help so many people. But really, a lot of people can take lessons from you and deal with their own pain and their own situations. Because you can't, in some ways, you can't measure it, can you? If it's holding someone back.
Well, that's the thing. I think the beauty about the fact that I went through just such depths of suffering is that everything that I've encountered falls short of it. And so if I can design a process that works for somebody who's at that baseline of suffering, everyone that is short of that is going to find a benefit from it. And that's my goal. My goal is not to come into this like from the standard approach and just give like a dusting effect. I want to create those processes and say those things that actually change, like alter people who are suffering from the worst conditions. I don't need somebody, to be at a certain level to see me. I want to reach the people who are suffering. I want to reach the people who are addicted. I want to reach the people who are like in hell in their relationships, because that has been a demographic that has been missed by spiritual practice. I mean, and that's why it's so annoying to that demographic. It's like you have got a teacher that comes in and says, just think over and over again, I love my life. And when you're suffering that much, a person walks in and talks to you like that, and you're kind of going, you have no idea. So I would rather reach those people,
So I know you make a lot of videos. You have a lot of, it's like an empire growing, really, isn't it? Because people want to hear what you have to say. How can people connect with you, apart from coming here today to your sold-out workshop? How can people connect with you and find out about your teachings? Because I know that from following you the last few years, it flows through you, doesn't it? So what is the best way for people to get involved?
I think the best way would be to go to my website, www.tealswan.com. So all you got to do is remember my name. So if you remember that and you can go to that website, I've got a whole forum there. You've got all the links to the various platforms that I have. So that's kind of like the main hub. From there, you can connect to the Facebook presence that I have, the YouTube presence that I have, obviously the sort of community aspect of my work. So I think that would be where I tell people to go. Plus, you get to figure out where I'm going in the world, so you can have an in-person interaction.
That's wonderful.